Welcome to Why We Are Christians. My name is Kent Philpott, pastor of Miller Avenue Baptist Church in Mill Valley, California. And we're talking to a guy, this is the second program, by the way. If you missed the first program, you might want to go back and see it someplace. But this is Etienne Douglas. I mispronounce his name almost every time. Give us the right pronunciation.
Etienne Douglas.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I come close.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for coming on the program again. And we've got you to the point where you're about 21 years old, 21, 22, and you're learning computer skills. So let's go back and keep the story from there.
All right. So, I'm 21, probably about to be 22. Yeah, I was learning how to build computers and network and fix computers. I had a, kind of unstable living situation, staying with family, not really having any direction in my life. And then my dad, who had always been in and out of jail, and then he got out and had turned his life around. And I don't even remember how long he had been out, but he had been out for a few years. And he was living here in San Rafael, and he calls me and he says, "Would you like to come and live with me?" And the way everything was going, I was like, okay, this is yes, this is perfect timing. I need something to break, because I wasn't really going anywhere in life, and it was kind of spinning my wheels in Fresno. So I went up and I stayed with my dad here in San Rafael, and he had been going to Village Baptist Church.
Village Baptist Church. Now,
Yeah.
this is your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Village Baptist Church, and that's in Marin City.
In Marin City at the time, yeah.
And, of course, we know the pastor, Emmanuel Okoyen, and my wife just told me that he was one of our first persons we interviewed over 10 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
An old friend of mine, Emmanuel Okoyen.
Yeah. So I was going to church, and like I said, I had been in the wilderness. I had been born again, but I hadn't had a church to land in. And then once I got to Village, and I remember one of the first times going there, I was like, wow, okay, now this is where I'm supposed to be at. Pastor Emmanuel was unlike any other pastor I ever had met before.
Now, he's from Nigeria.
He's from Nigeria, right?
That's right.
Right. So I remember the first time we talked about baseball cards, because he collects collectible cards, baseball, basketball, all, and he's a big collector, and I collected baseball cards when I was younger. So we talked about that. We didn't even talk about church. We didn't talk about being a Christian. We just talked about baseball cards. And the teaching was something that I had never really heard, like that type of teaching, where it was straight out the Bible, no fluff, no not very what I call culture based preaching, kind of behavior based preaching, where is what I grew up with in the Kojic church, was just hooping and hollering, and I'm not 100% knocking it, but I learned so much more in the first few services that I was at Village than I ever learned growing up, So it was always be a good person, treat people nice, do this, do that, not really just learning the Bible. And then
real Christianity. Emmanuel and I were friends back then, and he started the Southern Marin Bible Institute, and with Rondell Leggett and several other guys that I remember. So the Southern Marin Bible Institute, and Emmanuel and I remained friends. Like I said, he was one of the first persons we interviewed on why we were Christians. And then the fire happened.
Yes.
Were you part? You were there when the fire happened?
I was there. Yeah, I had been there for almost 2 years when the church burned down, when the building burned down. I had been usher, and I had been there for a while. They recruited me to be an usher, so I was ushering at the time, and I remember, like just hearing the news, and yeah, it was we were all disappointed, and I think I hadn't become as attached to the church, to the building, as much as other people who had been there for a long time, but and it was definitely a transition period for us, and we started meeting in a rec center down the street.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, so we met there for many years, and that's part of understanding what when you're teaching. You have somebody like Pastor Okoye who teaches the Bible straight up. You learn what Christianity is, and you understand the church is not the building.
That's right.
The church is the people, and so wherever the people are is where the church is. So that kept us going, and it was the perfect place for me because I'm a very logical, practical person, and you weren't going to get me with all this. I needed like real answers to faith questions. I needed to know. I need to be able to understand the faith, defend the faith, and have questions answered that a lot of churches aren't equipped or capable of answering.
I'm afraid that you're right.
Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, you started a career, I believe.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So so when I first got here, I kind of jumped around with different jobs. Worked at a bank as a bank teller. Sold vacuum cleaners for a while. And I did sprinkler fitting with my dad. My dad was a sprinkler fitter. So I joined the union for about a year or so. And I had still, so people knew, some people knew I had computer knowledge and skills. So there was a job over in Richmond running a computer lab, and a friend had referred me, so I started doing that. So I ran a computer lab at a low-income apartment complex for a while, teaching computers to the residents and having a place for the kids to come and be safe and play games and learn. Did that for a while, and then I had put on a message board like, hey, I run this computer lab. I'm not there anymore. Does anybody need any help? Which was this organization, San Rafael Canal Ministry at the time. A gentleman by the name of Bob messaged me and said, hey, would you come down and teach a class? And I said, yeah, I'll come down and teach a class. And it wasn't paid, it was volunteer. And I taught a beginning computer class to people who were a lot of immigrants in the San Rafael area. This is in the canal. And I taught a class on basic computers, showing people what the components were, what is a mouse, the keyboard, what does it do. He really liked, the work I did, and so he offered me a job. So then I became a part-time IT support person with San Rafael Canal Ministry. And then a few years go by working there, we merged with Canal Community Alliance, which then becomes Canal Alliance, which is probably about 70 to 80 employees at one point. And I was helping manage the whole network and the whole computer system for it.
Is that what you're doing right now?
Yes. So but it's more of a side business. So I have clients that I support, organizations, some nonprofits, a couple for-profit companies, but my main job is I work full-time for the Marin County Free Library. I run a program called the Web Stars, which I hire high school kids, and I teach them how to use computers, software programs, and then they teach patrons that come into the library and help patrons on the computer when they need help. And also run a makerspace called the Lab, which we have 3D printers and laser cutters, a podcast studio. Basically, it's a space for people to come and utilize the equipment free of charge. Materials are also free if we have them. If we don't have them, people should bring their own materials. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I started working for them in 2004, so I've been working with the library for 20 years now.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
18, great. Now, at some point, you met a lady, and you got married.
Yes. What gave it away? Was it the ring?
Yeah, I'm looking at your ring. Okay,
Yeah,
tell us about that.
Yeah. So yes, and I'm not even sure if you know this story at all, but so 2001. So my Village Baptist has a ministry, an Africa ministry, which we do we built a hospital in a village in Africa.
In Nigeria.
This is in Benin. No, it's not. In Nigeria, we also provide medical, like high blood pressure medicine for people. So we do. So that's in Nigeria. We provide that blood pressure medication for people who need it. In Benin, we do a lot more. We do sports camps. We have we've built a well for people to get water. Pastor Koyan has done Bible classes and a myriad of things that we do to support the village. So the first time we went to dedicate the hospital because it had just been built. And I met his niece.
Emmanuel's niece?
Yes. So when we go there, especially when Pastor goes there, all his family from Nigeria and Benin, they all come to visit him. I met his niece, talked to her, took a liking to her, got her information, then we kind of went back and forth, emailing each other. And then in 2005, went back again to do a sports camp, soccer and basketball, and that's when we got married. So we got married in 2005.
So you got what's her name?
Abiodun.
What?
Abiodun.
I don't even know if I can pronounce that.
Yeah. Everybody calls her New Ellen.
So you got married?
Got married in Africa, 2005. Came back, and then 3 years later, 2008, she was able to come here.
Okay.
Yeah. So not only is Pastor Emmanuel my pastor, he's also my uncle.
He's also your uncle.
Yeah. Married into the family. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any kids?
I have a stepdaughter who is, what is she now? 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's a bit of a story.
Yeah.
And so now you guys are up in Village Baptist is up in Petaluma.
In Petaluma, yeah. We had been in the rec center for I don't even know how long, maybe 8 or 9 years. It was a long time. And then in this whole time we were trying to rebuild the church. But part of the problem is when you rebuild something that was built in the 50s or 60s, you got to bring everything up to code. Insurance company only gives you the value of what the building was. They don't give you the money to then create a new building. So we raised money for years to get a new building. We couldn't do that. So what we did, we got a modular for a while, and we put a modular on the property. We met there for many years, and then we bought a unit in the business complex in Petaluma, and we already had a church in Petaluma. We had one in Marin City and one in Petaluma because a lot of our members had come from Petaluma. Were coming from Petaluma up to Marin City, from the East Bay. We had very few members that were actually living in Marin City at the time. So it was kind of like God telling us, hey, we want you to eventually go to Petaluma. And so we moved the church to Petaluma. And so even most of our members were traveling far, from, if they weren't traveling from the East Bay, they were traveling from like Novato to Petaluma, or in Petaluma.
Yeah.
So it was closer to where everybody else was at. So, and yeah, it's been great. We did lose some members, but we also gained some, members.
Yeah.
So, but God has been faithful with us and has kept us through the pandemic, and is slowly but surely growing us and growing our ministry. So
Sounds good. Okay, now now let me talk about your Christian life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you this: do you have a favorite Bible verse?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what is it?
It's Galatians 5:22 and 23.
Galatians 5.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's first letter that he wrote.
Yeah.
To some people in what are now southern Iran.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So, can you quote it?
Yeah. So, it's for the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And the reason I like that, I love that verse, because there's no limit to any of those things. And when he says against such things there is no law, you can never be too kind. You can never be too patient. You can never be too gentle. And I think our world has the opposite understanding, is that, oh yeah, you can be too nice. You can be too this, too that. And but the word says there is no limit to this. We put the limit on it. There's no limit to, when in God's eyes, of having too much of kindness and goodness and faithfulness and all that. So
Okay.
yeah.
How in your involvement with Village Baptist up in Petaluma, what is your role? Is there anything special you do there? Or?
Yes, there is. So that's why I said I was an usher. So I am now the head usher, and I have been for a while. Head usher, and I'm also part of the media team, which is the team that's responsible for all the technology, the words on the screen. So a lot of this stuff, a lot of the videoing and words on the screen, the streaming that when we
stream your service.
Yes, we stream to YouTube. I help set that up. The lighting, the computers, the website. I built the website for the church, and then I'm also recently I haven't been ordained yet, but been appointed as a deacon in the church.
Okay.
So that was in March.
Now, what does a deacon do? I think this is the first time I've ever had anybody say the word deacon on our program. So try to describe to us what a deacon does.
Okay, so a deacon is the servants of the church. Back in Acts, I believe, and the apostles, because the pastor's role is what? Preaching, teaching, and prayer, right? And when they were serving the people, some people weren't getting served, and they would say, well, it's not, we shouldn't be taking our time out. The pastors shouldn't be taking their time out from preaching and teaching and praying to do serving. So appoint men of God that are reliable and responsible, mature, to handle the serving of the people, and that's the deaconship. So
wow,
yeah,
Etienne, thanks for that. I had kind of forgotten that, frankly. We don't have the deacons in our little church, but I can see that's a big deal.
Yeah,
that's a big deal, and that's very important.
Yeah, and being fairly new as a deacon, I've seen the deacons work. So we have a deacons fund. When anybody needs help, they come to the deacons and they say, hey, I need some help in this area. The deacons meet and they decide, okay, we're gonna support this person this way. We're also contacts to we have assigned members that we contact and keep basically keep up on and say, like, how's everything going? Do you need anything? Do you need prayer? Whatever. So we serve communion. We also go out and serve communion to the sick and shut in. So that's some of the activities some of the responsibilities that we do. But it's very much serving the congregation. So.
Well, I'm so glad we talked about that. That is a big deal. That's fabulous. So, one thing I didn't ask you in the last program, it just popped into my little mind here. Were you baptized?
Yes, I was baptized.
Okay, now tell us about that.
So, when I got to Village, I had never been baptized in the church I grew up in, at the Kojic Church, and I never felt like I should have been because I never really accepted Jesus.
Because you weren't born again yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I became born again in Los Angeles, but I wasn't living in Los Angeles, so I kind of became born again and then immediately left. Right. So in the wilderness, and so once I got to Village, met with Pastor Okoyan and he said, "Have you ever been baptized?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And he said, "Well, you should be." This is once you have accepted Christ and you have the ability to be baptized, you should make this profession of your faith to the rest of the world, to the witnesses, and be baptized. So then I was I wish I knew which year I was baptized. It's terrible of me, but I was baptized at Village Baptist Church in the church. So it was before '99, before the church burned down. So I was
is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was baptized in the old church building.
Yeah.
And never looked back. So
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. That's a people are so confused in our world about what it is that a Christian is, how you become a Christian, and the processes that kind of follow that you
Yeah.
that you do that are biblical.
Mhm.
That are biblical, and and also we don't think we're the only ones.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You're a Baptist. I'm a
Mhm.
Baptist, and I could be anything.
Mhm.
Baptists are nobody. We're Baptists because we got baptized. We baptize
Right.
people after they become a Christian.
Yeah.
Nothing magical about it. Nothing.
Right.
You just do it because Jesus said to.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's the only reason you get baptized. He said to do it, and we've been doing it for 2,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's good to learn. And if you're getting straight biblical teaching, you learn that baptism is not what saves you.
Exactly.
Baptism is the evidence that you are saved, and you're showing the world your profession of Jesus Christ and accepting the sacrifice that He gave. So yeah, and yeah, because growing up, I thought, oh yeah, but you get baptized at a young age, oh you're good. That means, you got sprinkled with the water, and that's your ticket to heaven.
Yeah.
You can do whatever else you want to do in your life, but you got baptized.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Baptist got the name because people realize that you got baptized after you become a Christian, and baptized means to be dunked in water, immersed. Baptized, you could say immersion, dunked. German Baptists are called dunkers. German Baptists are called dunkers. So we
Really?
don't see ourselves as special.
yeah.
We're just another group of Christians, and nothing special.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like about Baptists. We are nothing special.
Right. Yeah. No, and the denomination is not special, and I don't think any denomination is special. It's the word. It's the God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. So and that's where the power comes from.
That's right. Etienne, thanks, buddy. Thank you
Well, thank
for
you.
coming down here. I know you got to go back to work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's the end of Why We're Christians, our conversation with Etienne Douglas. And if you didn't see the first part, go look for it. You'll find it. Go to milleravenuechurch.org and you'll find it. All right. So long.